Hey, how's it going? My name is Helmi, and in this video, we're just going to be chit-chatting about a very popular topic. So if you're a fresh grad or somebody who just started your career, should you buy a house or should you buy a car first? In an ideal world, you should be buying your property first and not a car. The logic is because of this. Traditionally, if you buy a house today, you keep it for a couple of months, then the value will go up. So if you sell it, you actually make a profit. And the second one is you should not waste money on buying a car because it's a depreciating asset, which kind of makes sense. Now, buying a property first would make a lot of sense if you live in an ideal world. But do we live in an ideal world? Of course not. We live in Malaysia, man. There's a lot of stuff going on here that makes it less than ideal. So we don't live in an ideal world, and I don't think that is right. So here's why I think if you're a fresh grad or just started your career, buying a property first instead of your own vehicle doesn't work for most people. So number one, the public transportation in Malaysia sucks. If you don't believe me, try and take the public transportation to work. And what I mean by that is bus or train. I dare you. You're gonna get fed up real soon. It's gonna be a giant waste of time, money, and also a big safety risk for you. Without a private vehicle, how are you gonna get to work? And how are you gonna live your social life? You wanna visit your friends, you wanna visit grandma, whatever, you need a vehicle. So if you don't have a vehicle, it's gonna be a problem, all right? Because you cannot rely on the Malaysian public transportation. It sucks. It's just the problem is a lot of the Malaysians, like we live in the suburbs, and there could be like a train station nearby, but the distance between their home and the train station is not walkable. So they still need to have some sort of transportation, at least from their house to the train station, which kind of goes back to the question that you kind of need your own vehicle in some way or another. So that also ties to my second point. Not everybody lives and works close to a train station. Even if you are one of the lucky Malaysians who can have an apartment and then the train station is right downstairs, and then you happen to also work in KL Central or KLCC or something like that, you technically don't need a car, which is great. But again, at some point you probably want to go somewhere and you don't have a vehicle. Sure, you can rent like car sharing apps like SoCar, but I've tried them. They're a really good concept, but I don't trust that they check their vehicles enough to safely carry me and my family around. So I made this video vlog of my experience renting SoCar, and you can see for yourself if you can deal with not having your own car and relying on car sharing apps like SoCar right here. All right, point number three, let's say you're really hammered on the idea that you must have your own property first, no matter what. That's just how you're wired. That's just how your family wants it to be. A mortgage is the largest loan that you can borrow in most people's lifetime. And if you go to the bank, and even if you make a lot of money, but as a fresh grad, you're like, hey, I want to buy this house. It's like 400,000. Here's my pay slip. They're going to look at your credit report. And what that is the record of you paying off your debt. If, as a fresh grad, chances are you don't have any records. You got no credit card, you got no loans, you got no car, you got no house or whatever. So it's clean. So, and then all of a sudden you come in and you want to, hey, can I borrow 400,000 ringgit as my first loan? Most likely they're not going to accept it because they'll be like, hey, even though you make pretty good money, but you don't have enough savings, you don't have any records that you're going to be able to pay us back, so this is too much of a high risk for us, we're not going to lend you the money. And that's what usually happens for a fresh grad. So it doesn't make any sense to tell a fresh grad, hey, you need to buy a property first. You got no record. So you can build your record step by step with something small like the credit card. If you learn how to manage your money, every month you spend with your credit card, but make sure you pay it back every month. Therefore, after a couple of months, a couple of years, they're going to have the record of you borrowing money, small amounts of money, and then you're paying it back. So the banks feel more comfortable to lend you a larger amount. Okay, so you need to build your credit report step by step. So if you want to see how I picked my credit card, you can click on this link right here. Okay, point number four, people who tell you that you need to buy a property first, usually the idea is that they assume that the property price will always go up in the future. But does it really? Because just take a look at it right now in Kuala Lumpur itself. The property price is so high, and then after the pandemic, a lot of people lost their jobs and there's no renter, there's no buyer. The property price actually went down. Supply and demand. There's too many supply, not enough demand. What happens? Went down. So I would like to challenge the dogma that people who say property prices will always go up over the long run are probably the previous generation. Things are changing, and I don't think it's going to stay the same as what they think back in their generation. People who still say that, oh, you should be investing in property and whatnot, either they're property agents trying to sell you a property, or they are a property seminar guru trying to sell you a property seminar course or something like that. Okay, so be careful. All right, point number five, why I think buying a property first might not be suitable for fresh grads is that the other reason why people tell you that you should buy a property is because you want to be a property investor. You can buy a house, but you don't actually live in there. you rent it out to somebody else, right? What you see right now is that a lot of people, they buy their property really expensive. Let's say they have to pay the bank 1,500 every month, but they can only rent it out at 1,000. So every month they have to fork out like 500 ringgit, even with a tenant. And that just sucks. There's nothing you can do about it. So apart from that, you as a fresh grad, you're young. Do you really want to deal with tenants? I can tell you this right now, dealing with tenants is not for everybody. In fact, I've actually made this one video of a compilation of what I have to deal with one of my tenants. You can click right here. All right, now that I got everything out of the way, so as a fresh grad, you got like conflicting people telling you different things here. So what should you really care about? What should you aim? And I'm gonna give you my opinion, process it, does it make any logical sense, and then apply it to your situation. All right, so here we go. So what should fresh grads aim for in terms of career and money? So the days that you can easily make money buying a property, holding it off for a couple of years and then selling it for a profit, those days are long gone. All right, if you buy a property right now, chances are you're gonna lose a lot of money. So much so that I made this video to really convince you that you should not invest in property. You can click right here. So as a fresh grad, I think your main goal is to actually figure out who you are as a person. So just because you studied engineering doesn't mean you're going to be an engineer for life. Just because you studied accountant, you're not going to be an accountant for the rest of your life. Nowadays, people switch careers all the time, and it's totally fine. I switched careers like twice. I started as an engineer, but now I'm a digital marketer. It's something that I love to do, and there's great demand. Your journey might not be as simple as that. So my point is, when you switch jobs or you try something else, chances are the job's not going to be stay put at one place. So if you already bought a house hammered somewhere, then you get another job somewhere else, now you got to deal with the commute. You can't move because you already bought the house there. It's not easy to get rid of your house. So just focus on your career and yourself. You're a fresh grad, chances are you don't even understand yourself, okay? Try a few things and see what sticks. That's just how it is. Don't feel afraid to jump careers if you think that's something you would really like to do. All right, so now you're getting all these conflicting information. So now you're confused as hell. You don't know who to listen to. When should you buy a property? All right, I'm gonna tell you my opinion and let me know if this makes sense or not, all right? I think you should only buy a property when you're ready to settle down. That's it. So settling down means many things to a lot of people. So traditionally, it would mean that you're ready to start a family. So you want to have a proper home. So that's when you go out shopping for like a normal 3-bedroom house or apartment or something like that. Don't buy studios, don't buy 1-bedroom, buy a normal 3-bedroom home, okay? There's also some people who don't want to get married, and that's totally fine. At a certain age, you want to anchor your place somewhere, and that's when you buy property. So those are the only 2 times that I would suggest any of my friends to buy property. If they want to, you feel that you can get a good deal and sell it off for a profit later, by all means, go ahead. But I think for most people, it just doesn't make any sense. All right, so let's do a recap. Your goal as a fresh grad is to figure yourself out, what you really want to do for the rest of your life. You probably want to bring some impact into the world, right? You just don't want to show up to work and then that's it. So you need time and trial and error to figure that out. You could probably be moving to another city or to another country even. So if you buy a house, you're kind of anchored and kind of have to deal with that. So when you're young, you want to make as much money and save as much money as possible. Just use whatever free car you have at home. So I know this not apply to everybody, but I know a lot of my friends at least where their family have extra cars at home. And even though they're really old, beat up car, but at least they're running. So just borrow that to go to work so you don't have to spend any money on a car. And if you feel ashamed of driving an old car with your friends or your potential date and you're afraid that they might look down on you for driving this beat up car, then I got news for you. I think you need better friends and you need to find another date that's not as shallow. But wait, you're gonna say, hey, Helmi, not everybody, his family's rich, got extra cars lying around at home, which is correct. So if you have a motorcycle license, and the place that you live and the place where you work is not that far, maybe less than 10 kilometers. What I did was I sold my car on Carsome, you take a look here, and then I actually bought a used motorcycle. Once you're on a motorcycle and you're able to go through traffic where everybody else is stuck, there's just no going back, okay? So there is that option. You don't have to follow other people being stuck in traffic jam and everybody bitching about the same thing. You know, you can think outside the box. Hey, I don't have to be part of this. I can buy a motorcycle. But as long as you ride carefully, as if nobody can see you, I think you're gonna be fine. And the last point, remember, only buy a property when you're ready to settle down. So that's it. That's my train of thought when it comes to should you buy a car or a house first. So obviously I would say don't buy a house first because you're so young, you don't know what you're doing. But in Malaysia, you need your own private vehicle. So that could be a car or used car or a motorcycle, whatever it is, you figure that out. But spend as least as possible. Like me, I bought a used motorcycle from somebody. So if you want to hear the other side of this argument, where in an ideal scenario, why you should buy property first instead of a car, which makes a lot of financial sense. So I'm going to recommend you watch this video. All right, so that's it. So I hope the sharing has been helpful. See ya.